What's up, everybody? So in this video, we're going to be talking about the essential tools you need just to have, just in case anything goes wrong. So here is mine. Now it doesn't look too big. I mean, as it shook the camera there. Let me zoom out and show you what I got. All right, so this is a pretty darn low profile toolbox considering what's going to be inside of it. So first off, why did I choose this one? Well, your needs are going to be slightly different than mine, and they're going to be slightly different from the guy next to you. But I'll show you why I got mine. All right, so please pardon the mess here. I'm rebuilding my entire truck. But basically, the reason I got this box is because it perfectly fits between my spare wheels and tires that perfectly fit between my chase rack. You cannot get any better of a fit. Okay, so now the important question, what is inside my box? So let's take a look. All right, as you can tell, my box is pretty much completely full and you can already see kind of what's in there. So let's start laying it out on the table and going through it tool by tool. Now, I do want to preface this by saying everybody's going to have a different experience than the dunes. Everyone's going to break different parts. Every tool in this box, every part in this box is here because I had a specific need for this and I didn't have it. So every tool in here I sourced out from different companies because there were certain parts you can save money on, there are certain parts you really need to spend the extra money on. So you'll see in here a mixture of Snap-on, Harbor Freight, Cobalt, all kinds of stuff. So let's get into the box and see what's here. All right, so the first tool you can already see peeking out the top here is the breaker bar. Now, breaker bar is definitely not something you're going to want to skimp out on. This is a tool you're going to want to rely on, and you want it to last. So I went ahead and got a ratcheting swivel head breaker bar. This tool I've used single-handedly to do the complete front suspension service on my truck. I've taken pretty much everything off. The only thing this won't do is your lower shock bolt if it's seized. All right, continuing on is my other breaker bar. This is a Milwaukee 1/2-inch M18 impact. This is, again, going to be your best friend. This is something you definitely don't want to miss out and, cheap out on the impact. This alone can make or break a repair job. And make sure your battery is fully charged. Mine definitely needs to be charged. This is not the battery that I will be going on the dunes with. The next thing is electronics. So this here is a basic electronic repair kit. This is not a kit I'm going to go diagnose a PCM with. So let's get into what we all have here. So obviously, we have a black wire, we have red wire, we have basic heat shrink. You can find this at Home Depot. A little assorted kit. We've also got thick heat shrink here, just in case a battery cable fails. You have basic fuses, so these are mini fuses. This is really common on the interior of your truck. Then you've got regular fuses. These are more common on the outside fuse panel of your truck. Under the hood is where they're found. Now, there is a third kind of fuse, and I'll put a picture of that right here. Basically, that is a larger fuse, but it does the same amperage as any of the other fuses here, which I am actually out of, so I need to get more of. Obviously, the next thing, electrical tape. You don't want to cheap out on electrical tape. Get 3M tape. This stuff is awesome. It's almost like flexible rubber. A lot of electrical tapes are like hard plastic. This stuff is really the best. It basically can form to anything. I mean, you can see how well, how it kind of formed to the different wiring here. Normal electrical tape would have basically been almost hard, and it wouldn't have conformed this way to the wires, and it really wouldn't have held. So 3M electrical tape is by far the best. Solder, I got 6040 rosin core solder. Any solder with those same specs will work. Butane and the soldering iron. Now, these are your most important tools for electrical work. Without these, you can't do it. All right, so inside the soldering iron case, this one is made by Lexicon. You basically have the main unit, some wrenches, some more solder, a sponge, which we wouldn't really use that in the dunes or desert application, but you should use that. Basically, this will help clean off the solder tip. You've got different connection or different tips. I'm missing a few, so I need to replace some of them. This is actually one of them. And the reason I chose this style soldering iron that's butane powered, basically, what happens if you have to do some electrical work and you don't have power? Now, you could say, well, that's easy. I would just plug power into my truck. That's simple. Well, unfortunately, there are times when you're doing electrical repair jobs you got to disconnect your battery. And if you disconnect your battery, I don't see how you're going to draw power from your truck to power your soldering iron. It also gives you the option if you're ever in a situation, let's say you're at a racetrack and you don't have power, you got to make a quick repair right on the car, easy. It takes 5 seconds to fill up from the butane bottle to the soldering iron. I will say one thing though, if you don't feel safe hauling around butane, bouncing around in a truck, totally, I understand that. That is one reason to go for a battery-powered soldering iron. They actually do have battery ones like from Milwaukee. I believe they have like their M18 and M18 and M12 soldering iron. But this is what I use, and it seems to work out pretty well for me. Next thing is a good digital multimeter. You can't really diagnose your electrical problems without one of these, so this is definitely a must-have tool. All right, so the next group of items is more of a miscellaneous kind of a thing. Basically, we've got a thing of razor blades. Now, this container is the same thing you saw my electrical tape in. These containers are awesome. So just razor blades, just in case you got to cut some wire or something, they're very handy. The next thing we have in the Ziploc bag is an assortment of picks and little pry tools. I think I got these from Harbor Freight. Everything here in this bag was like, I don't know, $14. And having picks for, you know, unplugging electrical connectors, getting dirt out of little crevices of electrical plugs. It's so helpful to have little picks. And for $14 for all those, you really can't complain. The next thing, obviously, some masking tape. The only reason I've ever needed masking tape is if I make a repair on one wire and it's quick and dirty and I'm out in the dunes, I will just put a little bit of tape on it. That way I can clearly see which wire I made the quick and dirty repair on. So when I'm stopped, I'm at camp, or I'm all the way even at home back in Illinois, I can see easily which wire it is and fix it the right way. Obviously, duct tape. I don't need to explain why you need duct tape. Duct tape makes everything better. So duct tape for the win. Duct tape's opposite, WD-40. This is a little baby bottle. I find that it's pretty convenient, and I don't see myself using a whole ton of it. I will say if you have a WD-40, I think there's a dry lubricant. That's pretty good for Heim joints, it seems like. So that is something you can consider getting. I just don't have it in my emergency kit because I don't consider Heim joint maintenance an emergency. The next thing is hose clamps. Now, you might not consider hose clamps to be an emergency item, but I've had situations where my air intake broke on my truck, or really the hose clamp on my air intake broke, basically letting my whole air intake tube fall to the side, letting my throttle body just suck up sand, which was never good. So now I always have a fresh supply of hose clamps. Of course, a Sharpie, in case you want to write yourself notes. Now, one thing I'm out of, and I should get more of, is just a little notepad, maybe even a pen too. Mainly, I use the Sharpie to write notes on the blue tape though. Like if I need to remember to torque something, I'll put a little blue tape down with a torque spec. So if I need to retorque it after a certain amount of miles, that kind of stuff. Last but not least, for the miscellaneous category is my chemicals, which I guess chemicals is kind of a loose term. I've got two different things here, Loctite and a JB Weld steel stick. So the Loctite, we have blue and red. The JB Weld steel stick, if you're not familiar, is basically a two-part clay. It calls it an epoxy putty, but I think the consistency is best described like a tough clay. Basically, there's two different clays in here. You mix them together, and you can form them around stuff, and you can turn them. You can basically bond two things. I've used this stuff before to almost make a dome, and then I pushed that dome on a threaded rod, and it turned into a button because that threaded rod was a linkage for something. I made a makeshift button because the button I had fallen off. It was for a horn on a golf cart. So this stuff, it's got a lot of wacky uses. You can carve it when it's dry. You can do so much stuff with it. And one more thing, real quick, is some zip ties. I think I got this for $7 at Home Depot. It gives you all different sizes. It comes in a nice little pouch for all of them. I mean, along with duct tape and WD-40, you can get yourself out of anything with duct tape, WD-40, and zip ties. You're good to go. All right, the next item, or items I should say, is this tool pouch. So this tool pouch is one of my best friends, along with my impact and my breaker bar. This tool pouch is awesome. So you got quite a mixture. It's a Harbor Freight tool pouch with some Snap-on tools and some Harbor Freight tools mixed in for good measure. So let's kind of go through exactly what we have here. So basically, the general idea is some pliers, some wrenches, and some screwdrivers. So the screwdrivers are Quinn. They're from Harbor Freight. I have found these to be awesome. The magnetic properties of these is really good. These screwdrivers I use at my job. I work in a machine shop. They're fantastic. I use them as punches. I use them as pry bars, and they hold up pretty darn well. So this is the first time I'm going to use them for an off-road setting. But I have high hopes for them, and I'm sure they'll perform very well. Now, the wrenches, on the other hand, those are Snap-on, and those are something you're not going to want to waste money on. In this box here, I don't have a lot of space, so I have my sockets, but I don't have a full wrench set. So I had to get really nice adjustable wrenches. So I went ahead and I got Snap-on adjustable wrenches. They go from 0 to 1.25 inch and 0 to 31 millimeters. Now, the main reason I went ahead and got such expensive wrenches was because they have almost no play in them. A common issue with adjustable wrenches is if you use them for more than 2 times, turns of a nut or bolt, they loosen up on you. These don't do that. Now, there is actually an orientation, if you don't know, to how you're supposed to turn a wrench. It's not actually just either way. Adjustable wrenches do have an orientation. That is something to keep in mind. But if you don't want to spend Snap-on money for these wrenches, I have good news for you. I just found out, and I wish I knew this before I got the wrenches, Snap-on has a subsidiary company called Bahco, B-A-H-C-O. Bahco sells certain Snap-on tools, just they don't have the red handle, they're not polished, but they're the exact same tool. The only difference performance-wise, these have a flank drive on them, which is flank drive is Snap-on's, anti-slip feature. I don't really know how well it works, but for me, I've had pretty good luck with it. The Bahco one, you can find on Amazon for $34 for one wrench. Doesn't have flank drive, but it's got the same, specs as it comes to play. It's made of the same material as far as I'm aware, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. So you can even pick them up on Amazon. These you're gonna go to your tool truck for. Okay, moving on to the pliers. We have a Harbor Freight wire stripper, wire cutter, and crimper for all of our wiring needs. Then we have another wire cutter for more wiring needs, or if we got to trim some plastic for something real quick. Obviously, next up is pliers. These are just generic, multi-purpose pliers. This Harbor Freight tool pouch, let me tell you, it really likes to suck onto these tools. I had to use 2 hands to pull this one out. So I recommend getting these these Snap-on pliers. You can find the cutters, these pliers, and a needle nose for like $60. They did a special on Snap-on a while ago for $60. Ever since then, you can find sets of them on eBay and Facebook Marketplace for like $55 to $60. And these pliers are awesome. They do go to a pretty nice size width, so you can do a good amount of jobs with them. All right, our next group of items are just a few miscellaneous tools I didn't have space for in my tool pouch. Starting from left going to right, we have basic snap ring pliers. Now, these are Harbor Freight snap ring pliers, and I don't think I'll ever use them off-road, but just in case I have them. They're reversible, so they have internal diameter snap rings and external diameter snap rings, so they're very, very, very helpful. They've also got interchangeable tips for different angles, different diameter snap ring insert holes. So a very universal tool for snap rings, kind of a one and done. And it was, I think, under $15 for that little kit there. So I'm happy with it. The next thing are these long reach needle nose pliers. They sell these at Harbor Freight, I think Lowe's. I got these at Home Depot. So basically just a long reach needle nose plier kit. There's pretty much no play I can feel when I wiggle them. When I move them, there's literally like no play in them. I love these things. They've gotten me out of many, many jams, especially because the articulation points minimize how much the throat opens of the needle nose. You can have all this extension, but it really doesn't open up a whole ton of width. So you can reach down in your engine bay if you grab a bolt, or if you drop the bolt, or if you dropped a little clip down in your engine bay, you can go down there, pick it up off your skid plate, and then you can put it back on whatever the clip fell off of. Next up, real simple, some long Quinn screwdrivers. They were alongside the kit in there, but there was no space for them. So they just sit next to the kit. All right, next up is just a hammer. I do want to eventually swap this out for a snap-on dead blow hammer, but for right now, this is just a ball peen hammer. I think this was also a Harbor Freight hammer for $7. 24 ounces, works pretty well. Basically, the only reason I'd use this is if I have to do an upper control arm, you know, real quick and dirty, you can use this to bang against the side of the wheel spindle, or actually on the upper control arm, at least on the Gen 1s, there's actually a spot where you hit it, and it's designed to vibrate in such a way that it releases the taper fit of that upper ball joint. So, hammer, super nice to have for doing suspension work. All right, the next thing on our list is for doing really small trim work. You have a little wrench to get those little 8mm bolts holding all your trim pieces together. You've also got all kinds of different inserts or different bits for them. This wrench was $20 at Lowe's for Cobalt. Or is that Lowe's? Yeah, I think that's Lowe's. And I think they sell these on the tool trucks for like 60, 70 bucks. It's pretty cool. It's got a 1/4-inch shank for, you know, all these bits here, but it's also got a ratcheting. Oh, this is the 1/4-inch shank. My mistake. I'm sorry. You've got, what is that, 1/4 inch, and that's what, 5/16. And you have a little adapter that comes with the kit to go from 1/4 inch to from a 1/4-inch hex shank to a 1/4-inch square. And then you can put all these different sockets in there. So you now have a basic set of 1/4-inch sockets, all the most common sizes. So that's a very handy little tool to have. I've used it many, many times, even in engine bays and hard to reach spots when there's just one bolt that's just loose, but it will take you an hour doing a full-size wrench, one click at a time to get this little guy in there, zip it out, super easy. All right, this is a Cobalt ratchet. It works very, very well. I got it with another Cobalt kit that I got the same day as I got these Cobalt sockets. So the Cobalt one is pretty good. It's a 90-tooth ratchet. It holds up real well. But I will be honest with you, the Husky ratchet from Home Depot has less back drag than a snap-on ratchet. And the most tooth count of any ratchet I've seen at 144. It's like literally glass smooth. That is the best one I would get. Anyways, so this is pretty much going to get you all your repairs. If you need any tools, any more tools than this on the go, chances are you messed up. You damaged your truck pretty good. And if you need any more tools than this, there's probably going to be a bigger issue at hand. So that wraps up everything for this video. I hope you found this helpful, maybe even a little bit insightful as to what you might want to start packing up. So that'll be all for this video. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.